Welcome to this hour's international news. Let's hear the headlines first. Trump warns China could face consequences over pandemic. Director of Wuhan lab denies virus link. 10 African countries have no ventilators. That's only part of the problem. Foreign governments condemn Hong Kong protest arrests. And Pakistan lifts limit on mosque congregations as Muslims' Holy Mother month approaches. These were the headlines. Let's jump into the details news now. US President Donald Trump warned on Saturday that China could face consequences if it was knowingly responsible for the coronavirus pandemic. It could have been stopped in China before it started, and it is not, Trump told reporters at a White House briefing. And now the whole world is suffering because of it. Trump was asked whether China should suffer consequences of the pandemic, which began in the Chinese city of Wuhan in December and has left over 157,000 people dead around the world. If they were knowingly responsible, certainly, he said, if it was a mistake is a mistake. But if they were knowingly responsible, yeah, then there should be consequences, Trump said. Was it a mistake that got out of control, or was it done deliberately? He asked. That's a big difference between those two. In either event, they should have let us go in, he said. We asked to go in early and they didn't want us in. I think they knew it was something bad and they were embarrassed. They said they were doing an investigation, the president continued. So let's see what happens with their investigation, but we are doing investigations also. The Trump administration has said it doesn't rule out that the novel coronavirus was spread accidentally from a laboratory researching bats in Wuhan. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijiang was who previously alleged that the US military may have brought the virus into China, has rejected US media reports on the subject and said there is no scientific basis. The director of Maximum Security Laboratory in China's coronavirus ground zero city of Wuhan has rejected claims that it could be the source of outbreak, calling it impossible. Beijing has come under increasing pressure over transparency in its handling of pandemic, with the US probing whether the virus actually originated in a regulatory institute with a high security bioscopy laboratory. Chinese scientists have said the virus likely jumped from an animal to human in a market that sold wildlife. But the existence of the facility has fueled conspiracy theories that the germ spread from Wuhan Institute of Virology, especially its P4 laboratory, which is equipped to handle dangerous viruses. In an interview with state media published Saturday, Yua Jiming, director of laboratory, said that there is no way this virus came from us. None of his staff had been infected, he told the English language state broadcaster CGTN, adding the whole institute is carrying out research in different areas related to the coronavirus. The institute had already dismissed the theory in February, saying it had shared information about the pathogen with the World Health Organization in early January. South Sudan, a nation of 11 million, has more vice president than ventilators. The Central African Republic has 3 ventilators for its 5 million people in Liberia, which is similar in size. There are 6 working machines, and one of them sits behind the gates of the US Embassy. In all, fewer than 2,000 working ventilators have to serve hundreds of millions of people in public hospitals across 41 African countries. The World Health Organization said, compared with more than 170,000 in the United States, 10 countries in Africa have none at all. Glaring disparities like these are just part of the reason people across Africa are settling themselves for the coronavirus, fearful of outbreaks that could be catastrophic in countries with struggling health systems. The gaps are so entrenched that many experts are worried about a chronic shortages of much more basic supplies needed to slow the spread of the disease and the threat the sick of the continent. Things like masks, oxygen, and even more fundamentally, soap and water. Clean running water and soap are in such short supply that are only 15% of sub-Saharan Africans had access to basic hand washing facilities in 2015. According to the United Nations. In Liberia, it is even worse. 97% of homes did not have clean water and soap in 2017, the UN says. Foreign governments criticized the arrest of 15 Hong Kong democracy activists in a police sweep on charges of organizing and participating in anti-government protests last year. The arrests on Saturday were the biggest crackdown on the city's pro-democracy movement since the outbreak of mass protest last year. The International Bar Association said the authorities should not encroach on human rights and the legal system must guard against it. Any abuses of power when the world was equipped with the coronavirus pandemic. The United States condemns the arrest of pro-democracy advocates in Hong Kong, U.S. Secretary of the State Mike Pompeo said. Beijing and its representatives in Hong Kong continue to take actions inconsistent with commitments made under the Sino-British Joint Declaration that include transparency, the rule of law, and guarantees that Hong Kong will continue to enjoy a high degree of autonomy, he said. Pakistan has lifted restrictions on congregational prayers at mosques but put in place a host of safety conditions to avert the further spread of the coronavirus in the country, a statement said on Saturday. The South Asian nation, the second most populous Muslim country in the world, imposed the restrictions less than a month, allowing only 3 or 5 people at mosques for prayers. The decision of lifting restrictions taken a meeting between Pakistan President Arif Alvi and religious leaders comes less than a week before the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, in which the size of congregations typically increases. Mosques are given permission conditional to taking due precautions. A statement following the meeting said, adding that it was mandatory for mosque visitors to wear masks. Pakistan has released 7,638 cases of the virus and 143 deaths, and health experts warn that congregationals pose the biggest threat to the limited healthcare institution of a country or more than 200 people.